Glenn Slater says, "Hi, Dutch. I came across an interview with David Schultz, and he had a comment about you. Schultz said you were a good worker and had ring psychology, but called you a yes man for the promotion. I'm curious on what your take is on these comments by Dr. D." So we're not going to show the footage itself, but what did Dave say?
What did he say? He said I was a yes man. I don't see anything wrong with that. Because how many times have you heard me say, stay in your own lane? I've said it 1,000 times. So if something doesn't concern me, I just agree and go on. And a lot of times, if it does concern me, I just say, okay, and go on. Because when you start disagreeing, unless you really have a hell of a point, when you start disagreeing, now you become adversarial. You like that word? That's a good one. We're using some good words today, buddy. You become an opponent because I shouldn't do this and I shouldn't do that and blah. Why would we do this? Well, they don't know. They just delivering a message. So just go along with it. So, but David, I guess, he is not a yes man. I'll say that. He'll argue and what the hell and go on. And he's been, I guess, fairly successful with the wrestling business. And he got in a business that he actually was sued him when he got into that bail bondsman business. And he was good at that job because David's not afraid of anything. He'll run in, which is a very, what he's got now, and I respect him because the job he has now, that bail bondsman deal, he's going to run in on some people. He don't know what problems they have. I don't know if he's still doing it. Maybe a little too old to do it now. But when you go in, you better be ready to fight. You better have a gun, everything else. To me, I never had cojones like that. You know, if I was going after somebody like that, I said, Mr. Smith, they put this warrant out on you, and I think it would be better if you went with us down to the sheriff's office and had him arrest you. And, well, that's not going to go over good. But David expected that, and he went after him. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad explanation of me. Yeah, I'll just go along with it, and you go along to get along. That's the old saying. So I just went along with their stuff until they went to the point that I didn't like it anymore. So I would leave. No big deal.
It's the most negative spin on putting easy to deal with on, basically.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Although, in fairness, you got off light because I think Schultz buried every other single person mentioned. Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler. So you were the most praised.
Well, he hated. Oh, David. I like David. I'd be riding down the road with him. He'd pull out, I swear to God, the biggest gun I think I've ever seen. How you like, and he not one gun, but in his van that we drove around in, he'd have about 3 guns in it. I said, damn, what do you expect in a war? You never know. You never know. We'd be riding down the road and he'd pull one of those guns out and there'd be a sign, bang, bang. He'd just shoot his gun. So now you might know why.
Why you're easy to get along with.
Why I was easy to go along with because I didn't want to have any heat with him. So I would just say, well, whatever you want to do, brother, whatever you want to do. And I've told the story about him pulling the guy back to the dressing room, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, man. And he was just, and I told the guy about him hitting the guy in the head in Louisville, right?
Yeah, with the belts.
Blood went everywhere. David didn't back down from him. And of course, everybody knows he got sued for the thing with Vince McMahon with, what's the guy's name?
Stossel. John Stossel.
Yeah, and he slapped him so hard. A guy told me one time, he said, don't ever punch anybody, especially if you're a big guy. He said, open hand slap them right on that ear. He said, if you hit them with a fist, you got to get them just right to knock them out. Here, stuns them for about 10 seconds. And he said, then you can be all over them, because you get hit here, your eyes close, your brain starts. It's a motion that your brain doesn't detect right off. And he says, that's what you do. If you want to get the upper hand, slap them, but slap them hard. Have you seen the new thing they got on Dana White has it? The slap
that power slap stuff. Oh, it's awful.
Well, that's what can knock them out.
Yeah.
If somebody said, throw a punch and hit me, nobody would do that. But the slap, they're not thinking about the slap. But some of them just stiffen up and go down. That's what happens when you know who told me this? Don Harris, one of the Blue Brothers. He said that's what, he used to be a bouncer in clubs, and his brother too. He said, if you ever got to touch somebody, he said, slap them. And he says, then you got them. Because they're expecting a punch or something else. But he said, if you slap them, he said, you're going to stun them for at least 5, 6 to 10 seconds. And they're wondering, you knock them on the dream street, they call it. And by that time, you can have them, you can do anything with them, you knock them, then you can knock them down, handcuff them, or do whatever you want to do. Some of them, and it helps if you're a bigger guy. And Donnie was about 6'8". He didn't weigh over 300, but he weighed 270. So you have a guy 6'7", 270, open hand slap you coming way back here and hitting you. Yeah, it would rock your world. So I learned that from him.
So
I slapped this woman down at the supermarket. She was about 80. She's about 80. And I said, don't you ever talk to me in that tone of voice again.
You said Schultz hated, and then you trailed off there. But I mentioned Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler.
He hated Lawler. He hated Lawler because he's from Jackson, Tennessee. You know, I talk about professional jealousy. He hated Lawler. He didn't really hate him. But business-wise, he kind of hated Lawler because he used to say, he had some great sayings about him. He didn't like Dundee because Dundee would go around and do silly stuff in the ring, and David didn't like to do it. But it was according to what Lawler was doing with him at the time. If Lawler was pushing him, he liked him. And if he wasn't pushing him, that's something. But David, you know, I'll say one thing about him. He wasn't boring, and he was fun. He was fun to travel with. If he wasn't slapping somebody.
Yeah.